Welcome everybody, Steve here. Well, today I'm taking a break from the projects and I'm going to polish up the old truck. I'm going to detail it. Now, I've been doing some wood projects in here and you know the dust is getting on my truck and I want to put my cloth over top of it. But I want to detail it first before I do that. So I'm going to show you what I do. You know, I'm not one of these guys. I'm a driver. I don't, you know, hug my truck every day and polish it, you know, and get down there with a toothbrush and do my wheels. I just like to have it clean, and every once in a while I'll do a buff on it just to make sure that it's good. And that's about as far as I go. I don't even wax. I'll wax my windows, I'll show you that in a bit, but I don't wax my paint unless it's really, really necessary. And I really don't find it necessary. I'm just not one of those guys that has to have that water beading off your truck. Now, if you're worried about water spots and all that kind of stuff, then go ahead and give it a wax. But for the most part, if you've got good paint, you don't really have to worry too much about it. Now, this truck is painted in a single stage. That means there's no clear coat on it. And it makes it a little bit tougher to do because it limits your options. And what I mean by that is if you have a little bit of a scratch in your clear coat, you can sand the clear coat, buff it out, and you're good. But when there's damage on a single stage, if it's a metallic, it's a little different. You really can't do much about it. You can buff out the odd little scratch or something like that, but you just can't take the sandpaper to it because it's going to create a different color. So we're going to keep it simple, but there's certain little tricks that I hope you can learn today. So follow along. I know I'm going to have fun. First thing you want to do is you want to make sure there's no dust. And of course the best thing you can do, and I did wash this before I brought it into the shop, you know, that was a couple months ago, but give it a wash. You don't want to have, if you got dirt on here, there's a good chance you're going to put a good scratch into it. Now I'm just using a mild detergent here, and I'm just going to give it a bit of a wipe down here. It's always the tops that get the worst of it because the dust settles on it, the birds crap on it. Now I'm going to have to get my step here. Now I'm just using the you know, a mild cleaner here. But if you're one of those people that wax their vehicle, after you do this stage, what you want to do is use some wax and grease remover. Now, I don't have to do that on here, but you don't want those layers to keep building up. So make sure that if you do have wax, use a wax and grease remover. I just don't have any here. You can use a paint thinner, a real light one, you know, something that's not going to you know, wreck your paint, but wax and grease is actually the way to go. The cleaner that I'm using is actually a bit of a degreaser, so that's going to help out a lot as well. Give me a step here. That's where it's beneficial to own a Porsche 911 or something like that. It's a little lower, you don't have to get a step. So I got a bunch of bird droppings here. And I got these little pads from the automotive store. You know, it's kind of a, well, it's not a scrub or anything like that, but it's got some texture to it. So maybe that will help. I'm just going to put a little bit of cleaner on there. See if that works. No. Okay. Well, we'll take her to the next step. So I'm just going to try a little bit of alcohol. Bird poop is kind of it's a water base, so you want to use an alcohol to get rid of it. We'll see if that helps. Wow. Took some work, but poop is gone. Got a couple more to do here. Now you can use, I'm just using some denatured alcohol here, but you can go ahead and use, gasoline antifreeze would work fine too. We've got some bug guts here as well, and we're going to do the same thing. Bug guts are they're tough to get off. You have to scrub them. Sometimes the power washer just doesn't get them, so just use a nice light pad and they come right off. And if you got some on your chrome, you're doing all the wiping anyway. If you got some bug guts on here, get rid of them now while you're in the mood. Now when it comes to polishing, automotive polishing, if I'm doing a little cutting and buffing, I've just got two things here. I've got this is a Presta. I got it at the automotive store, and this is an ultra cutting cream. And if you're really starting out with like if you're polishing something that's really, really rough, you can get a little bit coarser, but I find that this ultra cutting cream works good. And then I just use a hand glaze. Now they do a machine glaze, but they're basically the same thing. I think they just want you to buy both. I don't know. But, so if you got a couple little rough spots, you want to use the ultra cutting cream. But for the most part, this is a nice shape. We're going to be using the hand glaze. And that's a nice fine polish. And if you have any of those swirl marks, this should get rid of it. So on these spots that are cleaned, there's still a little bit of residue there. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this the cutting cream to my pad. And this is where the Zen moment comes in. And there's nothing wrong with doing your vehicle by hand. It just takes a little bit more work. Go in circular motion. If you go straight back and forth, you end up missing spots. So, nice circular motion. We're going to let this dry. You can see it's taken off quite a bit here. This is the side that I used to take off the bird poop. And that's just that little spot right there. Already looks good. Now when it comes down to these larger areas, I like to pull my big unit out, and it really pays to have a car polisher if you're into detailing your vehicle. Now I'm going to show you another couple options. Of course we did the hand first, option one, this, and then I'll give you a couple more options. But on the hood this is what I'm going to use. Now, of course, the rotation is this way, so anything that is going to fling off is going to head out that way. You might get a little bit this way, and if you really don't want to get a bunch of stuff on your windshield and windshield wipers, we're going to put a piece of or just a sheet over top of that just to protect it. So I'm going to do that because I don't want any extra work. Now when I get started, this is just straight water. I like to just wet the pad just a tiny bit. Well, that's embarrassing. I have to give this thing a little bit of a squeeze there. There we go. Not very much, just a little bit of a light one. Throw a little bit down on your hood. A little bit of a something right there. I'm just going to get a handle. Be right back. And you want to make sure that I take my handle off to store it. I want to make sure you got a handle because if you I think the little cooties came off of this. And now I keep it. I don't really go uber fast when I'm doing this. I've got it set at about 2.5. You just go really, really slow for the first little bit, just to kind of move your stuff, move your compound around a bit. And stay fairly consistent. Now I should mention, I'm using a foam pad. Now, if you're using the cutting cream, you might want to go with the wool pad. That's going to be a little bit more aggressive. But when you're doing some polishing, and color-wise, these do come in yellow, white, blue, and they're for different grits. I have a blue one. When it's dry, you're going to see if it smears. And you just take your old shirt. Old flannel underwear works good too. And just give it a nice light little buff. And you see everything shining away. Let's finish up the front here. Sometimes what you'll get is a little spot. It's a little difficult to, you know, if you build your compound up a little bit too much, then all you do, let's say right here there was a little bit too much buildup. I just give it a little bit of water, and that'll just kind of reconstitute it a little bit. It'll come right up. Now, This side is polished, the other side isn't. Man, what a difference. Well, it was in pretty nice shape to begin with, but it's still way, way better. And to get rid of the big test, all you do is just drag your cloth along and then come over here and it just grabs. Now, this is a single stage and it's taking off micro layers of paint. You know, that is getting pretty dirty. So I'm going to take it inside, wash it underneath the sink, and then we'll come back out, and what I'll do is just go outside and hit the grinder and get all the water out of it. There's still going to be some water in there, but that'll be okay. I'm going to go ahead and wash this. I'll be right back. I'm going to get rid of the excess water. Don't do this in your shop. And don't do this like this, because it's going to come right back on you. Straight up and down. We're getting a bit of a snowstorm tonight. Perfect night to be detailing your truck. You can kind of see that this side's a little hazy. You come over onto this side, it's a lot better. Like I'm saying, this was pretty good shape, so you know it's hard to see in the camera. But I'm gonna get this side going, and then we can get going on the sides. Now, when you're using the big buffer, you gotta be really, really careful that you don't, you know, stay on your flats, quick roll, and then stay on your flat. Don't spend any time on the edges here. Do a bit of a burn through. Okay, let me just check the camera here. So I had one little spot right here. I know I'm getting a little bit picky on this little spot there, but your hand glaze isn't going to really take down things that much, and it's kind of like, you know, the bird poop kind of makes a bit of a stain on there. So I'm just using this little pad here, and wow, it really got dirty fast. But used a little ultra cutting on there, and so this is another option. Wool pad, just Velcro, got a backing pad on a drill. Nice to do little spots like this. And then what I'll do is I've already wiped everything down. If I use the big buffer, I'm going to get, you know, shrapnel everywhere. So I will just use my hand with the hand glaze. I got this nice little sponge here. I don't know, come in a 4 or 5 pack or something like that. And if you do your vehicle more than I do, which you should, then you just use a little pad like this, and you know, if you did this every month, that's all you have to do. You don't have to pull out the big mechanical units or anything like that. Be surprised what you can do with just a little sponge. Look at that, look what's coming off. Oh yeah, beautiful. The little spot is gone. Now this is what I'll use to do all the little things like this. You know, when you start getting in here with a, you know, a drill or the big buffer, now you can get the compound everywhere. And it's not a good thing, because then what you're doing is you're kind of working down, trying to get all the residue off, and yeah, then you start contemplating life and thinking too much. Here's another option. Using my 5-inch orbital, and just put a Velcro wool pad on there. Now, it's another option, but with this option, you got to be really light on your orbital sand. You put too much pressure on, it's going to stop. So, let's put a little bit on there, but it's nice if you're doing certain things like this. You know, you really can't get in there, or if you use your big buffer, you're going to slam it down underneath your trim, and then it gets very difficult to remove. So, sometimes less is better. I'm going to just open up my hood here. Nice job. Now the nice thing about using something a little smaller like this and a little less aggressive is you're not going to get compound flung all over your vehicle. So, you know, you have to spend a little bit more time with it because it's a little slower, but sometimes slow is okay. Now, one thing I didn't mention, don't do this out in the sunshine. Everything's going to dry too fast on you. You want to be in a kind of a controlled area and out of the sun. And a cooler day is actually better than a hotter day, because your compounds will dry so fast, you'll end up with caking, and yeah, then it's no fun anymore. All right, I'm going to continue on. Some of this stuff I'll do by hand. Some of it I'll use the orbital sander, and I will continue on. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of it. You know, it's tough enough as it is. Now the stainless and the chrome, I just use the hand glaze, and it does just as good a job as chrome polish. And you can even use it on your windows. But we'll use some window cleaner for that. But it does work. Sometimes it's a little nicer to use if you got the bugs, because it will kind of work the bugs off a little bit. Now, one thing I do avoid is I avoid the rubbing compound on the trim. Now the trim, well, the reason is just because I've got it painted, you know, it's painted inside the trim, and this trim, the paint is so very, very thin that if you keep, you know, you do it a couple times rubbing compound, that black or whatever color it is, it's going to start to disappear on you. So just a good cleaner on your trim, it's as far as you have to go. Now, if you're really concerned about detailing,
You can get inside there with a cleaner and a toothbrush. Get the custom camper all cleaned up if you really want to. This one here is still in pristine shape, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, get all the bugs off. Yep, that's looking good. Don't forget to do the chrome. This works good on that too. Any plastic pieces, I'll just wipe that down with a good cleaner. Seems that you know, you can rub out the little bugs a little easier when you got a bit of an abrasive cleaner. Well, it's not cleaner, rubbing compound, I guess. Now this grill here is actually an original grill, so it's not shiny new, but I'd rather have an original one than a knockoff. Unfortunate, it's in good shape. Now, if you got serious bug issues, or you got a little bit of rust coming on your chrome, use some 000 steel wool instead of using a pad, and that will work awesome. Now, there's other products out there. This one here is called Mirror Glaze. It's Final Inspection, number 34. It's a McGuire's product. I've had it forever. It means I don't use it very often. But let's say you're ready to go to a show and you just want that little extra shine, you know, because it's sat around for a few days. Let's see what it does. I don't think it's going to do much, but it'll just help you take it to that next level if you're going to a show. We'll let that dry. It says possible eye irritant, so don't spray it in your eyes. I'm going to get a new rag here. Well, definitely didn't do any harm. Now when it comes to the engine bay, I just use a mild cleaner here. My paint here is semi-gloss, so if you start polishing semi-gloss, it's going to turn into a high gloss. Once again, you don't do this unless you take it to the car wash and give it a good engine clean. Paint is still pretty nice shape in here. Got a couple little scratches. Now for the wheels, my dash, I'll just give it a little shot of, this is just a vinyl and rubber cleaner and conditioner. Now, my tires are nice and clean, but if your tires are all, you know how they get that schmeg on there, that brown schmeggy stuff, what I use is lacquer thinner. And lacquer thinner just seems to take that a micro level of that rubber off and leaves a really nice finish. try and avoid the stuff with silicone in it. This one does not say silicone free, but usually the professional stuff is. Silicones, you know, they stick around for a while, especially if you're in a shop environment like I am. You go to spray something, there's a little bit of silicone on it, you got a fisheye. So I don't allow it in my paint shop at all. I don't do any painting in here. Now, one thing I will do, this is yellow wax. Just to use any automotive wax that you want to use. Take the lid off. And what I will do is always wax the inside of my window and the outside of my window. Now, just the door window. The reason is then, because when your window gets a little bit dirty, you know, a little bit of muck and guck gets built up on there, it starts to grab on your window felt, especially if it's just a rubber window felt. So if you wax it, it'll just slip on by, and your window felt will thank you later. Just gonna try a spot on the corner of my hood here. This seems to be the spot to practice on because we did that mirror glaze on here. So I'm just putting a little wax on there. I got a speeder up here for production reasons. One thing you will notice with the wax, it's still easier to glide here than it is even where you're where you've taken your hand glaze. So it does make a difference. And you know, I'm not going to wax my truck, but if you want to, it definitely does make a difference. Well, there you have it. That's how I detail my vehicles. You know, I try to keep it as simple as I can, not overcomplicating the compounds, you know, and hopefully I give you a couple of options, you know, with the machines. Of course, you can do everything that we're doing with a machine with your hand. It's just going to take a little bit longer. And we talk about longer. You know, you need to book off at least 3 hours if you're going to do a decent job on your vehicle. And you know, these big boys, you know, that got the fancy cars, you know, they're taking them to the, you see them on TV all the time, and they're taking them to a show or auction. They'll spend over 24 hours doing it. So, yeah, maybe a couple guys doing it. I don't know. But that's using the toothbrush on the frame and all that other kind of stuff. That's taken to a level that I will never ever see in my life. Anyway, that's how I do it. I know that there's people out there going to say, well, you know, I don't really think that that's the proper way, but it's always worked for me, and my vehicles always look good. Another tip, no zippers. Make sure you're wearing a t-shirt. All hot rodders know that. So until next time, stay tuned. Thanks.